Kai, once a simple human diplomat from a small blue planet, was now the husband of Queen Alara, the most powerful ruler the stars had ever known. The court that had once whispered doubts and threats now looked at him with respect, and sometimes awe. But change had not come easily. The battle with the Recon warlord had tested every world, every leader, and every citizen. It had forced old enemies to become allies and made the galaxy realize that survival depended on unity. Kai stood beside the queen on the grand balcony of the Imperial Palace, overlooking the capital city that glittered with lights from millions of ships and buildings. The stars above seemed brighter than ever. "This is only the beginning," Alara said softly, squeezing his hand. Kai nodded. "We've fought for peace, but now we must build it." The days after the war were filled with rebuilding and healing. Planets damaged by conflict struggled to recover. Families torn apart by old rivalries searched for new paths. Kai took on a new role, not just a diplomat or the queen's husband, but a symbol of hope. He traveled to distant worlds, speaking with people who had never trusted anyone beyond their own kind. His simple words, honest heart, and willingness to listen opened doors thought closed forever. One day, Kai arrived at the forest moon of Valora, a place where ancient trees reached toward the sky and rivers sang like music. The people of Valora had been neutral during the war, afraid of taking sides. Kai walked among them, meeting elders, children, and warriors. He shared stories of Earth, of peace treaties and forgiveness after long struggles. "We are not so different," he said. "All of us want a safe home, a future for our children." Slowly, Valora joined the growing alliance that Alara and Kai were building, a galaxy united by trust, not fear. Back in the palace, Kai and Alara worked side by side. The queen had no throne to rule from alone. Together they shaped policies that helped the weak and strengthened the bonds between worlds. However, some enemies remained. The Shadow Circle, though weakened, continued to plot in secret. Kai knew they could strike again. One night, as Kai walked through the quiet halls, he heard whispers behind a hidden door. He paused, listening carefully. The voices spoke of rebellion, of breaking the queen's rule. Kai's heart sank. The fight was not over. He rushed to Alara's chambers, breathless. "They plan to attack us," he said urgently. Alara's eyes flashed with determination. "We will face them. Together." The next day, the court gathered once more. This time, it was not just a meeting, but a test of loyalty. The Shadow Circle made their move, attempting to seize power through force. But Kai and Alara were ready. With loyal guards and diplomats at their side, they confronted the rebels. Kai spoke to the crowd, his voice steady. "Violence will not bring peace. Let us find strength in unity, not division." Many nobles who had once doubted him stepped forward, pledging their loyalty to the queen and Kai. The rebellion was crushed, not with swords alone, but with words and courage. In the aftermath, Kai realized something important. "True power," he said to Alara, "comes from trust and respect, not fear." Alara smiled. "And that is why you are my partner." Their bond grew stronger, not just as rulers, but as equals who shared a vision for the galaxy. Years passed, and the empire flourished. Trade routes opened, cultures mixed, and peace became more than a dream. Kai often thought back to Earth, the small planet that had sent him out into the stars. He wondered what his family and friends would think now. One day, during a grand celebration of unity, Kai stood before a crowd that included beings from thousands of worlds. He spoke with hope and pride. "We came from different places, different stories. But together, we are one galaxy. Let this be the future we build, a future of peace, respect, and endless possibility." Cheers filled the air, and the stars above seemed to shine even brighter. Kai looked at Alara, and she smiled back. The most powerful queen of the galaxy had chosen a human as her husband, not just to shock the court, but to change the fate of all worlds. Together, they had done the impossible. Together, they would lead the galaxy into a new age. The galaxy was no stranger to war. For centuries, star systems battled for power, resources, and pride. But now, with Kai standing beside Queen Alara, a new hope flickered in the hearts of many. Yet threats still loomed on the horizon. Kai had spent weeks learning about the Empire's military and political systems. He met generals, scientists, and diplomats from many worlds. Many were skeptical of him, but others saw something different, a fresh perspective. One day, a high-ranking officer named Commander Tarson approached Kai in the palace's war room, a place filled with glowing maps and tactical screens. "Human," Tarson said with a slight bow, "we face a grave threat. The Vrecon warlord grows stronger. His fleet moves closer to our borders. We need new strategies, something unexpected." Kai nodded. "I want to help." Tarson raised an eyebrow. "You understand war, human?" Kai smiled. "Not like your veterans. But I know people. And sometimes winning is not just about weapons, it's about trust and teamwork." The commander looked skeptical but listened. Meanwhile, Queen Alara worked tirelessly to strengthen alliances. She trusted Kai's advice and often invited him to strategy meetings. One evening, while reviewing battle plans, Kai noticed something others missed, a pattern in the Recon's attacks. They targeted planets with divided populations, hoping to exploit internal conflicts. Kai suggested, "If we unite those planets first, offering peace and support, the Vrecon will lose their advantage." Alara nodded thoughtfully. "A bold idea, but it will take time." "We don't have much time," Kai replied. Together they began a campaign of diplomacy. Kai traveled to troubled worlds, speaking not as a queen or a general, but as a human, someone who understood fear, hope, and family. On the desert planet of Zerath, Kai met with local leaders who had fought each other for decades. His honest words and calm manner slowly built trust. He promised help, protection, and a future without war. To many, Kai was a strange figure. Human, inexperienced, yet surprisingly wise. His empathy became a tool stronger than any weapon. Back at the palace, the Shadow Circle's power was weakening. Some members secretly began to support Kai, seeing that he brought real change. However, the threat of the Vrecon warlord was real and urgent. His massive fleet, dark and silent like a shadow, moved closer each day. One night, alarms blared throughout. The palace. The war room was alive with activity. Vrecon fleet detected near the outer rim. A scout reported. Alara and Kai stood together, watching the glowing holograms of approaching ships. "This is it," Alara said. "The moment we must prove ourselves." Kai felt a rush of adrenaline. The battle was fierce. The Empire's fleet fought bravely, but the Vrecon's ships were powerful and relentless. Kai stayed close to the command center, coordinating communications between planets. He used his knowledge of cultures and languages to broker quick alliances during the chaos. His calm under pressure surprised many commanders. During a critical moment, the Vrecon targeted a key planet where Kai had recently forged a peace deal. "Commander, they are attacking Zerath," a messenger shouted. Kai immediately contacted the Zerath defense leaders. "Hold your ground," he urged. "Help is on the way." Using the Empire's fast response units, Kai coordinated a defense that pushed back the attackers. News of this victory spread quickly. After the battle, the Empire had won a hard-fought but decisive victory. The Vrecon warlord retreated, forced to reconsider his plans. In the Great Hall, Queen Alara addressed the court. "Today we faced darkness together and emerged stronger. Kai's courage and vision have shown us a new path." The crowd erupted in applause, many now seeing Kai in a new light. Kai felt proud but humble. Later, in the quiet of the palace gardens, Kai and Ilara talked about what had happened. "You changed the way this empire fights," she said. Kai smiled. "I only did what I could. Sometimes, the greatest power is understanding each other." Ilara took his hand. "Together, we will build a galaxy where peace is stronger than fear." Kai looked out at the stars. The road ahead was still long and uncertain, but for the first time he felt ready. The palace was quieter than usual the next morning, but the tension in the air was thick. Kai woke early, his mind racing. The ceremony from the day before replayed in his thoughts, the shocked faces, the angry whispers, the unexpected announcement. He was now the husband of Queen Ilara, but many in the court had not accepted it. Some saw him as a threat, others as a joke. Kai knew he had to prove himself, but how? He dressed carefully in simple clothes. The palace guards, who usually barely noticed him, now gave him respectful nods. The power of the queen's decision changed everything. Kai stepped into the vast hallway and made his way toward the queen's chambers. He found Ilara already waiting for him, standing by a large window that looked out over the city. "Good morning, Kai," she said softly. "Rest well?" Kai shook his head. "Not really. There is so much I don't understand." Ilara smiled. "Neither did I once." Kai looked at her closely. "How did you know I was the right one?" The queen's eyes darkened, and she turned, away from the window. "It is not easy to explain. I have seen many rulers and warriors, but you have something rare. A kindness that is also strength." Kai felt warmth in her words, but also a weight of responsibility. "People are angry," he said quietly. "Some want to remove me. They say I am unworthy." Ilara nodded. "Yes, the court is full of shadows, but shadows cannot hide the light forever." She walked to a small table and took a data crystal. "There is much you must learn, secrets that most do not know." Kai's eyes widened. "Secrets?" Ilara handed him the crystal. "This contains information about the history of the Empire and about the threats that come from beyond." Kai took the crystal carefully. He was surprised by how heavy it felt, as if it carried more than data. "Why are you telling me this?" Kai asked. "Because you are not just a husband. You are a partner. We face enemies who want to break us apart." Kai nodded. He felt a new determination rising inside. Over the next few days, Kai studied the data crystal in secret. He learned about ancient wars, about alien races that wanted to conquer the empire, and about betrayals within the court. It was a dangerous place. One night, while walking through the palace gardens, Kai met Jorik, the reptilian diplomat, who had been quietly observing him. "You have questions," Jorik said. Kai smiled. "More than I can count." Jorik looked serious. "The court is a web of power. Many will try to trap you, but you have an advantage: your humanity." Kai frowned. "What advantage?" "Humans think differently. You feel emotions deeply and act with courage. That scares some here." Kai thought about that. He had never felt like a leader before, but maybe his difference was a strength. As days passed, whispers of rebellion grew louder. A secret group called the Shadow Circle formed in the palace, made up of nobles unhappy with the queen's choice. They met in hidden rooms plotting. Kai learned of their plans through Lyra, the blue-skinned diplomat who had become a quiet friend. "They want to trap you," she warned. "You must be careful whom you trust." Kai nodded. "I will." One evening, as he returned to the queen's chambers, Kai found Ilara waiting for him with a serious look. "We must act soon," she said. "The Shadow Circle plans to strike during the next council meeting." Kai felt a chill. "What can we do?" Ilara reached for his hand. "We will show them that together we are stronger." The next day, the council gathered in a grand chamber filled with the galaxy's most powerful leaders. The tension was nearly visible. Kai stood beside Ayalara, his presence a bold statement. When the Shadow Circle tried to accuse him of treason, Ayalara's calm voice cut through the room. False. Accusations will not divide us, she declared. Kai has earned his place by his heart and courage. Kai spoke too, his voice steady. I am here to serve the Empire and its people, not as a weak human, but as someone who believes in unity. The room was silent. Some glared, but many nodded slowly. The Queen's support was unshakable, and Kai's words had weight. After the meeting, Kai felt a new confidence. He was no longer just a visitor in this palace. He was part of its future, yet he knew the road ahead would be difficult. Shadows still lurked. That night, Kai and Alara sat together on the balcony watching the stars. We will face many challenges, she said. But we will face them as one. Kai squeezed her hand. For the galaxy, he said quietly. For the galaxy, she agreed. And so in the Palace of Stars and Secrets, a new partnership was born. One that could change the fate of all worlds. The morning sun cast a soft glow over the Imperial Palace as the Great Hall filled with guests from countless star systems. Today was the day of the grand ceremony, a day meant to celebrate peace and unity among the galaxy's many worlds. Yet, beneath the glittering lights and shining decorations, a sense of tension buzzed like electricity. Kai felt his heart beating fast as he stood among the crowd, unsure of what was about to happen. The Queen, Alara, had asked him to stand beside her during the ceremony, but she had not explained why. Whispers floated through the hall like a gentle wind, curious, doubtful, and sometimes harsh. "Who is that human standing with the Queen?" one alien noble whispered. "Is she making a joke? Or a statement?" Another asked quietly. Kai looked at the faces around him. Some were friendly, some cold, and some openly hostile. He took a deep breath and reminded himself to stay calm. He was not here by accident. The ceremony began with a grand speech by the Queen. Her voice echoed through the hall, steady and clear. "Today," she said, "we come together not as separate worlds but as one galaxy. We have fought, argued, and divided. But now, we choose peace." Applause followed, but Kai noticed some faces did not join in. Rival leaders exchanged glances, their smiles tight and forced. Then, the Queen turned toward Kai. "Kai," she said, her voice ringing out. "Over the crowd, you have shown courage and kindness in a way few others have. You remind us all what it means to be truly strong." Kai felt every eye on him. He swallowed hard. "And today," Alara continued, "I declare Kai to be my husband." A gasp swept through the hall. The sound was like a wave crashing over the guests. Kai's mind froze for a moment. His heart pounded in disbelief. "Your husband?" someone whispered loudly. The Queen nodded. "Yes, together, we will lead this galaxy into a new era." The court erupted into chaos. Some guests clapped, others gasped, and some shouted in anger. The head of the Council of Elders, a tall being with shining blue skin named Vrax, stepped forward, his voice cold. "This is an insult to tradition and the laws of the Empire. How can a low-ranking human be chosen as the Queen's consort?" Alara's eyes narrowed, but she spoke calmly. "Tradition is not a chain that holds us back. It is a guide. Kai represents the future, hope beyond old prejudices." Kai looked around, seeing faces of shock, disbelief, and jealousy. Some powerful nobles whispered plans to undo this decision. Still, Alara reached out and took Kai's hand. "Come," she said softly. "Let us show them what we can achieve together." Kai felt a surge of strength. He squeezed her hand back, ready to face whatever came next. After the ceremony, the palace was filled with rumors. In the halls, behind closed doors, powerful figures spoke in hushed tones. "How could she choose a human?" One lord grumbled. "It weakens her rule." "She must have secrets we do not know," another whispered. Kai found himself at the center of attention wherever he went. Some approached, him with cautious smiles, others with cold eyes. He met Jorik, the reptilian diplomat, who nodded in respect. "You surprised me, human. The Queen does not make such decisions lightly." Kai smiled. "I don't know what to say. I'm still trying to understand it myself." Lyra from Aquara came by, her blue eyes full of concern. "Be careful, Kai. The court is not kind to those who shake its foundations." Kai thanked her quietly. He knew she was right. That evening, Kai and Queen Elara met in her private chambers. The room was calm, filled with soft light and the scent of flowers from distant worlds. "You handled yourself well today," Elara said. Kai shook his head. "I felt like a deer in headlights." She laughed softly. "You are stronger than you realize." They spoke long into the night about their hopes, fears, and the future they dreamed of. Kai learned that Elara had grown tired of endless wars and politics that only served the powerful few. She saw in him a different kind of strength, a reminder that leadership was not just about force, but about heart. But danger lurked nearby. Unknown to Kai, some nobles were already plotting against him and the Queen. They feared the change he represented and the power he might gain. One night, Kai overheard a secret meeting in the palace shadows. "We cannot allow this human to stay beside the Queen," a voice hissed. "If we remove him, we can control her again." Kai's blood ran cold. The fight had only just begun. But Kai was no longer just a diplomat. He was the husband of the most powerful queen in the galaxy, and that meant he had a role to play. He looked out the window at the stars, feeling a strange mix of fear and hope. Tomorrow would bring new challenges, and Kai was ready to face them. Kai walked through the vast corridors of the Imperial Palace, feeling a mix of awe and nervousness. The palace was unlike anything he had ever seen. Tall, shining walls stretched up into the sky, decorated with bright lights and strange symbols from hundreds of alien worlds. The air smelled faintly of spices and metal. Around him, creatures of all shapes and sizes moved gracefully, wearing colorful robes and carrying strange devices. Kai was just a human, a diplomat from Earth, the smallest and least powerful planet in the galaxy. Here, among the great powers, he felt like a tiny ant. Yet, he had been chosen to represent his people at the Galactic Summit, a rare honor for any human. This summit was held only once every 10 years and brought together the leaders of hundreds of star systems to discuss peace, trade, and alliances. Kai's job was simple but important. Listen, take notes, and report back. He was not supposed to make waves or draw attention. But Kai had learned that sometimes even the smallest ripple could start a wave. He adjusted his plain suit and stepped into the grand hall where the summit would begin. The room was enormous, filled with rows of seats made of shimmering metal and crystal. At the front, a huge throne stood on a raised platform, shining with gold and gems. It was empty, for now. Around him, diplomats from strange worlds whispered to each other. Some looked at Kai with curiosity, others with disdain. A few smiled politely. Kai was used to being underestimated. Suddenly, the grand doors opened with a loud creak. A hush fell over the crowd. All eyes turned to the entrance, and then she appeared. Queen Elara. She was taller than most, her presence commanding and calm. Her silver hair flowed like a river of stars, and her eyes shone with a light that seemed almost magical. She wore a robe that sparkled with tiny lights, like a sky full of distant suns. Every step she took echoed with power and grace. Kai felt his heart skip a beat. He had heard stories about Queen Aelara, how she ruled the galaxy with wisdom and strength. She was known as the most powerful queen, able to unite star systems that had fought for centuries. Few had ever seen her up close. The queen took her place on the throne. Her voice, when she spoke, was clear and strong. "Welcome, honored guests," she said. "Today we gather to build a future where all worlds can live in peace." The summit began with speeches, promises, and careful agreements. But behind the polite words, Kai noticed tension. Some leaders exchanged secret looks, and a few whispered quickly when they thought no one listened. Old rivalries had not disappeared. Kai found himself watching everything closely. He remembered advice from his mentor back on Earth. In politics, what is not said can be more important than what is spoken. As the day went on, Kai met a few other diplomats. There was Jorik, a tall reptilian from Zarkon, who was friendly but cautious. And Lyra, a small blue-skinned woman from the ocean planet Aquara, who smiled warmly but seemed worried. Kai shared simple stories about Earth, its green forests, vast oceans, and busy cities. Many had never seen a planet like his. Some were surprised humans could travel so far. By the evening, the summit was winding down. Guests were invited to a grand banquet in the palace's great dining hall. The room glittered with floating lights and holographic decorations. Strange foods were served, some Kai had never seen before. He ate carefully, not wanting to offend anyone. As he moved through the crowd, Kai heard whispers about the queen. Some said she was tired of endless wars. Others claimed she had secrets no one knew. Kai's thoughts were interrupted when a royal servant approached him. "You are requested in the queen's private chambers," the servant said quietly. Kai blinked in surprise. "Me? But why?" The servant only nodded and led the way. Walking through quiet halls, Kai wondered what this could mean. He was just a low-ranking diplomat. What would the queen want from him? At last, they reached a large door. The servant knocked softly and then stepped aside. Inside, Queen Aelara sat by a window, looking out at the stars. She smiled as Kai entered. "Come in, Kai," she said. "I wanted to speak with you." Kai bowed, still confused. "Your Majesty." The queen gestured for him to sit. "You have done well today, listening and learning. Many underestimate humans, but you show a strength that surprises me." Kai felt a flush of pride, but stayed humble. "Thank you, Your Majesty. I only do my duty." Elara's eyes softened. "Tell me, Kai, what do you see when you look at the galaxy?" Kai thought carefully. "I see many worlds with different people, each with their own hopes and fears. Sometimes they fight because they do not understand each other. But I also see the chance for something better, a future where we help, not harm, one another." The queen nodded slowly. "That is what I wish for, too." There was a silence between them, filled with unspoken thoughts. Then Aelara spoke again. "I have watched you today, and I believe you have something rare. Not power or wealth, but courage and kindness." Kai looked at her, unsure what to say. "Tomorrow," she said, "will change everything." Kai's heart pounded. What could she mean? The servant returned, bowing. "Your Majesty, all is ready for the ceremony." Aelara stood, her expression calm but determined. "Come, Kai. You will stand with me." Kai followed, stepping into a future he could never have imagined.